Hey everybody. In today's video, I'm going to go over a new Google Sheets feature, and that's the ability to insert a timeline into your spreadsheet. Now, one thing that's important to note is that this is not available on free accounts. You'd have to have a workspace account with Google for this to be available. If I try to use this on my other account, it doesn't show up, so you won't even see that option. So you'll know fairly quickly if you have it available to you. Just go to Insert. You'll see the timeline right on there. Now, to use it, you don't necessarily have to have a lot of fields entered, but there are a lot of options that you can utilize. So I'm going to start with just a start date, an end date, an event, and let's say event detail as well. So let's say, January 1, 2023 to January 15th, 2023. The event could be, let's say sales trip, right? And let's say trip to New York, right? So now I've got a simple table here set up. So now I can go to Insert, Timeline, and so it's telling me to select my range. It's automatically detected sheet A1 to D2. I'm gonna hit OK. That's going to create a new tab, and there it is. So January 2023. It's got my sales trip on there. If I click on that, I see the details, and I can go in here to edit the data if I need to. If I go back onto the timeline, there are a lot of different fields that you can use. For instance, there's a card color, card detail, the detail one I have. I'm going to select event detail. There it shows up, trip to New York. If I want to group it by something, if I want to set the assignee, I can do that as well. So I can create those extra fields just by adding some columns. So let's say person, let's say this person is, the assignee is Jack, and the type I'm going to say is for the sales department. And then for the color, this is where you can just apply a color here from the highlighting. So let's say green. Now if we go back to the timeline, we just need to update this range. So here we got A1 to D2, right? So you just want to go in here and change that range so it covers G2. And so choose the card color column. So I've got that color field that I set up, automatically detects it. Event type, card group, and I use type for that. Assignee, person. So now I've got all that detail now when I click in here. So if I decide this card color is no good, I can potentially change it right from in here. Now if I go back onto the sheet, it's changed here as well. So you can change it either in here, or you can go right from the timeline and change it. So now we've got our sales category, showing our sales trip to New York. All right, let's go back to sheet 1 now, and let's add another trip. Let's say February 10th, 2023 to February 20th, 2023. And notice here it's got the 2023 and above it didn't, but I can use the format painter just to make it consistent. And this one, let's say a marketing trip. Let's say trip to Chicago. And that'll be Michael from the marketing department. And let's say that's going to be a light blue color. Go back to the timeline. Now, the one thing, obviously, I need to adjust my range. G4. Oh, it's detected an error on my sheet, so let's double check what that is. So A1 to G3. Centered it a bit too far, or not far enough. And now if I scroll here, now I've got my marketing trip on there. So there it is, trip to Chicago, February 10th to 20th. And here I've got this. So, it's a really cool thing. You can separate it between categories, and obviously this is at whatever you think is necessary or appropriate. So there's a lot of flexibility on that. Right now it's set to weeks, but you could set this to days if you've got a lot of events. You may prefer months if you've got, depending on how many events and how spread out they are, you can do that. So you can even have a multi-year view if you wanted to. And there's a different option for comfortable versus a condensed view, depending on how much space you need to save. But that's how you can create a timeline here and the ability to scroll on here. So really really convenient way if you're managing teams or different departments, and you need to be able to plot this out onto a Google Sheets file, which obviously is helpful because then you can integrate this with other Google Sheets files you have. You don't necessarily have to go through your Outlook calendar to do that. And as I mentioned, you can share this. So if I go to share, publish to web, this will share and give someone access to the timeline. So let's say the timeline, and the only option is a web page. So I'm going to hit publish, hit OK, and I'm going to show you that this works even if you do not have a paid account, a workspace account. So I'm going to launch another browser and open up this link in there. And so here's my other account. So this is not a workspace account, but I do have access to the same data, and I can still scroll through it as well. So even if you've got, if your account doesn't have workspace, it isn't a workspace account, you can still view this information. It's just the person who's creating it would have to have that workspace account to be able to have the ability to insert the timeline and to set it up. But once you've shared it, you can share it with other people. So benefit of this is, again, having everything in Google Sheets so you could coordinate, having your sales data, whatever data you have in Google Sheets, while also creating a timeline for more information so that you don't have to fumble between Google Sheets and Outlook or whatever else you use. So that's a quick overview on the new timeline feature in Google Sheets. Hope you found this useful, and thanks for watching.